Hey, all, and welcome to another episode of Revival Flicks, where we try to find maybe some classic films or old films, and we try to review them, but with today's perspectives. So basically, we try to focus on older films, but now and again, maybe we also review some new films if they fall into some special categories here in the channel, like weird ones or horror films. And by now, if you're following the channel, you probably already know that I'm a big fan of horror movies. And I'm glad to say that this one, actually, today's film is from 2025, so this year. And so it's quite new. And it was actually quite a surprise. It had been getting some kind of a buzz in the internet and so on. So I checked it out by chance. I was in the flight, a very long flight, and so on, and also it was available in the in the library, in the media library. So I actually checked it out. I had like a good headphone with me, so I was able to get into the film, even flying, with all the noise and so on. But I was really into it. Anyway, let's get into it. So Weapons is the name of the film that we're going to review today. You're probably already familiar with what's about. I'm going to try not to give any spoilers here. There's only one section that I'm going to kind of give of a spoiler about the structure of the film. So this is a pre-alert, but when I get into it, I'll give another alert. But anyway, as usual, let's start with the data about the film. So IMDb is my main source, where I check out like all the information about the films, and the crew and the director and so on. So in the IMDb rating, it was 7.5, which it for a standard movie is already high. I mean, for horror films, I would I would consider this extremely high. My rating, I'm gonna already anticipate it. It was an 8. I'm gonna get into the details further along, but jumping into the to the crew, let's talk about the director. So his name is Zach Cregger. I was not at all familiar with him. I also checked, like his filmography and so on. Also, not familiar with his films. Okay, so let's actually split this. So he's a director and the writer from the film, which I already respect. When when the same person, does both of these tasks in the film, I give a lot of respect to that. In his case, Zach, actually, there's one layer of complexity there. He was an actor before. I mean, I'm not sure if before would be the case. Maybe he's still acting, but as soon as I checked out his page in IMDb and saw his picture, yeah, it was kind of like a familiar face. So then I checked, what kind of movies he had acted in, and actually, I wasn't so familiar with his movies except for one, Friends with Benefits. Probably that's the one that that made me familiar with his face. But anyway, I thought it was interesting. Like in going back to the films that he had directed, I thought it was interesting that some of his films were actually well rated in IMDb. So there was another film, probably also a horror or a thriller or something like that, called Barbarian. I'm probably gonna watch that. Also, if you already seen other materials of mine here in the channel, you'll already know that if there's like a successful movie that comes out and so on, what I like to do is like to watch either not actually not either, maybe even both, like a movie before the successful one and a movie after the successful one. One to see like how did that director, like get the credentials, to direct such a successful movie, or how did he ramp up? And when I watched the other movie, like a follow up movie, I my intention is like, oh, let's see if he maintains, his quality level and so on. Because sometimes, there are a lot of artists, I would say, like in any segment, not only filmmaking but also especially songs, music and so on, that maybe it does like a one hit wonder, and that's it. But in film, that's less of a case. Normally, not normally, but many cases we see a director like sustaining, the quality. But anyway, Barbarian was well rated, IMDb rating 7 from 2022. And then there was, I think, a TV show which I wasn't familiar with called Newsboys. It actually had a very high rating, 8.1. I wasn't so like maybe feeling like watching it, but because of this high rating, maybe I'm going to actually watch it. It didn't like Newsboys. Like the title didn't really uh, give me such a like a curiosity. But since since the rating is so high, I think I'll probably watch it. Then going with the actors. So Julia Garner, I wasn't familiar with the name. I was familiar with the face when I watched the film, but I couldn't really say which film I had seen her in. But actually, later on, probably was a Fantastic Four, but maybe also other parts in the other films, like smaller parts in other films. She was good. I can't say that she was bad in the film. She was quite good. But actually, there was another actress that stood out in my opinion. She played like a vital role in the film, but I'm not gonna say what kind of role because I don't want to give any spoilers. But it was Amy Madigan. So I checked out her page in IMDb, and actually I think she's like an old school actress. So I immediately saw like Uncle Buck, which was like a movie like from the 80s or something like that, maybe from the 90s. Fun movie, but it's stuck in my mind. This film. Also, Field of Dreams she played in, and maybe some episode of Frasier. So she's a very old school actress, but she was tremendous in this film, in my opinion, even. Uh, anyway, but okay. So going on with the review itself. So normally I love horror films, especially because for a horror film to be like good and stand out, I think the credit must go much more for the technical parts, like the director, the editors, or maybe even the special effects and so on, than the actors themselves. I'm not saying that the actors, they weren't good, but anyway, what I'm saying is that a good horror or thriller film requires for the director and the editor, especially, the first interesting aspect about it is it's how the story is constructed. So I did a little research about what's it called, like in the film industry. So they call it like a multi-perspective or Rashomon-style storytelling or a network narrative. So I'm gonna say these keywords, and this is where I'm gonna warn about maybe a bit of a spoiler, but only a spoiler like in the structure of how the film was crafted. So it's not like a storyline spoiler. So if you don't want spoilers at all, please skip. I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 minutes about what I'm about to explain. So anyway, I was researching other films that had been done, in this same kind of structure. I mean, the only one that it came to mind like right away was Crash and Traffic. I mean, Crash was the first one, but I also know about Babel. So Babel, I think I saw it, but if I saw it, it was so long time ago. I really can't remember, like the full storylines and so on. But Traffic and Crash, yes, I can remember. And Crash, I think it was like I mean, these are my more like the recent ones, so that's probably why I have them as a reference. So anyway, I put in Chat GPT, like to help me out, to think about other films that had been created in this kind of structure. So again, just to be clear, so this kind of structure is like, okay, so we have the same storyline but different perspectives at different times, right, in the film. So this is interesting because first of all, it's complex, like it's very hard for you to get a good result out of it. Second, it's like interesting, like when you're watching and then you kind of change your mind about certain scenes that happens and so on, or maybe it kind of like explains to you why that happened that time and so early and whatever. It's interesting. I like this kind of structure. So moving on, then I kind of researched, right, about it. So as I mentioned earlier, so there's a specific term called, uh, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but Rashomon style storytelling. This I had never heard about before, for sure. So I went to research about what I mean. I asked ChatGPT, like to give me other names, of films that has the same structure. So it came out with Babel, as I already mentioned, 2005. I even checked, like the IMDb rating, like to give, some more information about it. So 7.5, Traffic 7.5, Crash 7.7. So these are kind of like the modern ones, right? Then there was a very, very classic one, which I'm probably gonna watch it. It's if you already seen other materials here in the channel, you're probably familiar with Happy End, which was a movie that I stumbled upon. So I did one of my first reviews was in a film called Irreversible, right? So it's a backwards film, and also again, the only film that I had in mind, it was Memento from Chris Nolan. So I asked ChatGPT also to list me a bunch of films, that had that same structure, and then it gave me like from, I think it was from 1962 or something like that. I mean, really like in the old days. And then I watched Happy End, 1962 from 1962 or 67, I'm not sure. But anyway, I watched it and I was really blown away because of the quality, the how they did like a well planned job, like editing wise, and also script storytelling and scripting and so on. So it was a great surprise. So this is the kind of situation that I expect, like all of this work that I'm doing in the channel and so on, like again, just to have fun and discover new stuff. So I'm gonna watch this film, which is from 1950, called Rushmon. That's why they probably attached the style to this kind of structure. Was probably one of the first that was done in this kind of storytelling style. So I'm gonna watch this. This is my homework for the couple of days that I'm probably going to review it. So I was also very, very surprised that it was the IMDb rating was 8.1, 1950, 8.1, Rashomon. This kind of structure is complex to execute, so I'm really, really curious to what's coming out there. And also, I think it's an Asian movie. I'm not sure which country, but probably an Asian movie, Asian production anyway. So moving on with the suggestions from ChatGPT, or the research in ChatGPT. So it also mentioned a film from Tom Cruise, which I wasn't familiar with, called Magnolia. Also had a high rating, 8 in IMDb. So I'm probably gonna watch that too, because I'm kind of like a Tom Cruise fan. Please don't make fun of me, but yes, I am. And there was also another film. So Magnolia was from 1999. So another film from Sean Penn that has the same kind of structure, storytelling structure, called 21 Grams. I think this one I saw already, but probably I'm gonna watch it over again, just to be sure. But I think I watched it like really, really back in the days. And then there were another couple of ones. One I had already seen and it was very good, which was Hero with Jet Li. If anyone likes, also Asian production and so on, Jet Li, I mean, for me, it's one of the best, like alongside with, Jackie Chan and whatever. So it's from 2002, was a really good movie. And then there was also another one called The Last Duel, 2021, 7.3 in IMDb rating. This one, I'm gonna think over if I'm gonna watch it or not. But Rashomon, for sure. I think anyone that likes filmmaking and is into this kind of like complex structure of storytelling, I think it's probably a must see. So now let's go into the details about the movie itself. So as I mentioned also earlier, I do enjoy, like horror films or thrillers and so on, because like the technical aspects, I think they stand out much better. In this, I'm happy to say that it was very, very well directed. I mean, not only like the actions, like from the actors and so on, but also the kind of gestures that they cooked into the movie, and how it became like a weird movie. So this is probably going to the weird ones, in my category and so on. But anyway, I think it was kind of spooky. It had some moments, that you really like jump a bit, but it's like quick moments and so on. But it was still very well edited, So also the way that the film begins, with the narration and so on. I'm not gonna give so much away, but I don't remember like a horror film starting with that kind of narration. I've seen other horror films start with a narration, but this one is kind of like different. I think it produced a very good effect, like a very spooky effect, like to set you up, for what was coming. So yeah, so I thought that was very well thought of. But the what stood really out for me, like throughout the film, is that when you watch the film, I mean, there's no like super. You can get a sense that there's not like a super production or like a super makeup or like expensive sets and so on. Things are simple. I love this aspect about it. Like the actions are simple. The makeup is kind of simple. Um, the town, like there's not so many like special effects, like in the scenes, and so on. It's like everything like raw. So that's why I think it did a tremendous job on the direction part, and especially also the editing. But I'm gonna keep an eye out for this director, Zach Cregger, because if he does maintain like I'm gonna watch his stuff, like previous stuff and so on. But if he shows like a consistent directing style that is like in this level, this dude is really good. Is really good. But anyway, I'm gonna watch the other stuff before I come into any conclusions. But moving on with the details about the film. So, direction, very good. The detail in the beginning with the style of narration, perfect. So yeah, so the simple effects that I was mentioning, it has to be very well coupled, coupled tightly with the timing, So there was very good planning, probably hours and hours of editing, to get that timing really really good, like to produce, like the desired effect. Yeah. So anyway, also another detail, about the production that caught my attention was the kind of score that it had. It had like a weird sound, not actually a sound, but like a music, but it's kind of like a music that gave you a rhythm, to what was coming or what was happening and so on. But it was so weird that it caught my attention. It was something like it wasn't exactly instrumental, but it had some kind of like noise to it, some weird noises that caught my attention so much. And then I'm not 100% sure of what I'm gonna say here now, but I think in the end titles, if I'm not mistaken, I think Zach Cregger also took some part in the score building of this movie. So if that really happened, man, he really likes to control, how, like what's his production gonna be like. I love when people do that, that people try to embrace a lot of parts. So big respect to that. And of course, going back to the actress that really stood out for me, which was Amy Madigan. So yeah, so I think she brought in that mysterious element to the film, because we would, like, encounter her now and again and so on and so on, but we really wouldn't know what was about and so on. So that mystery behind it, and it was only revealed, later on. Yeah, I think she did a really good job, especially the simple makeup that was around her scenes and so on. I'm trying not to give any spoilers, but anyway, this was very, very well. I would say well put together. All of the elements in this film, and in my opinion, was kind of like an original idea. So that's also one of the big wins for this film. I really hadn't. I mean, maybe there were films that used this kind of the kind of mystery. Still trying not to give anything away, but anyway, uh, the kind of mechanism that is used in this film, not the storytelling mechanism, but the I would say that, like, the what makes bad things happen in this film was already used before, but I don't think it was used in this way. I've seen other films. I remember about other films that used it in a more stereotypical way. If you've already seen the film, for sure, comment here to if you know what I'm talking about. If not, please watch the film and also, like, start a conversation to at least know what this mechanism is. It's a well explored mechanism, but I never seen used it like in I would say not so stereotypical way as this film did, as this film explored it. The only I would say negative note I would have to say about this film, I think it would be like the main character, which is a kid, right? So I know that, like, in the film, the intention was, like, for him to be, like, introspective and so on. I don't think he kind of, like, was up, like, to the challenge about the film. I mean, it was probably a very challenging role. I'm not gonna, like, gonna speak badly, about, like a child actor, but it was. If I would have, like, any negative notes about it, it would only be the acting on the on the main character, which was a child, right? But anyway, probably all the other actors, like, they for sure compensate about it, and, child actors are for sure, like, additional challenge, for you to work with, and especially in a horror film. But anyway, this is like a very minor, I would say, detail, considering, of everything that has been done, in the film. I would say it's like a very, very, like, minor detail. Of course, if you disagree with me, please leave your comments here also, and we can maybe, like, reconsider. But anyway, that's my opinion for now, at least. Yeah, I enjoyed this film a lot. If you like, weird films or horror films, you're gonna enjoy it. And the ending is it was, a bit, I would say, a bit tough to see. But I mean, we're in for a horror film, so I think it's fine. I'm gonna leave also here some of the links of the films that I watched. I'm sorry, that not that I watched, that I researched, that has the same structure, but they're not exactly horror films. Some of them are like action films. Some of them are maybe dramas and so on. But I'm gonna leave them here, especially the ones that I'm probably gonna watch it. And yeah, I hope you also have had fun, and again, stimulating or encouraging people, like, to create their own channels, and for us, like, to review as much films as we can, especially the older ones that they don't get, more of a chance. And there, some people even say that the older ones are even better than the new productions, but I'm not totally for that opinion. But anyway, yeah, I think there's a lot of materials for us to cover and revive a lot of productions. And see you in the next one.